We have a buggy recording studio today, ladies and gentlemen. The first time we tried entering the studio today, it just entirely froze my computer, locked everything down. Even Control Alt Delete didn't solve it. That's
You had to,
when you know.
you had to unplug it, right? The hard
Yeah.
reset.
Yeah. So now I just went to click record and I had to click it 3 times. It wasn't clicking. So my greatest fear always is that we record an entire episode and it's not usable.
I think we did that once.
We have for sure one with a guest that's just
Yep.
not usable. We never released
It
it.
was a great episode too with that young kid.
And I want to have him back on, and
It was such a good episode.
I feel bad. So we will have to have him back on, but it was just entirely unusable.
Do you remember that one time we were both like having a bad like podcast hosting day, and we got done with the episode and we're like, oh, we didn't really nail it, but we'll just let it go. And then we came together that next day, like, we can't put that out. We need to re-record this and do a better job because we were both terrible.
Yeah.
You remember
Like
that?
a year and a half, 2 years ago.
And so we just threw that one in the garbage and tried again.
Yeah. We talked that evening and we're like, should we do this? It's fine. Yeah, I'll sit on it. I'll edit it tomorrow. And I started going through. I was like, yeah, I don't like this.
You can have one host can have a bad day. It's cool. One host can carry the show. Somebody's sick or extra tired, but you have two hosts that are just off the game in one day, and it's not going to be good.
Yeah. We have days where you'll come on or I'll come on and be like, listen, I'm struggling today. Or like, every time I go to talk today, people have those days, like you just don't find your words. You constantly you can't have both people have that. So we'll tell the other person like, hey, you're going to have to carry it today. And there are clearly episodes where one person talks way more, or they're like, do you have something you want to talk about? Because I can't function today. And so then that person does a passion project episode, like my drug talk last time.
I got some feedback from that one.
But
already.
You can't have both people off on the same day. We've had one of those days.
So if you were me, that's not even how I want to start this sentence. So there we go. If it were up to me, like, I think you put me in a barn loft mounding hay, or on a lawn doing landscaping, or on the streets doing some sort of road construction, which I've never done, I'm assuming. That takes way less out of me than if I had to sit here and engage with you for 8 hours or physically move for 8 hours. I'm going to feel better at the end of that day of physical labor. I've done it, for years of my life, than I will if I'm with clients in the gym for 6 hours and then have 2 hours of athlete calls and then have to still record a podcast. I'm going to be way worse after that day recording the podcast than I would after a physical day. There's something about the conversational mental exertion when you're always on. We don't have a job where we sit there and disengage. We're very engaged in our job. At least I am. I think that's the biggest thing, that sort of fatigue.
Yeah. Mental fatigue. I don't want to get up and move when I'm done. I want to just unplug for a bit. Physical fatigue. I'm good till I stop moving, and then I don't want to move.
That's fair. Yeah, I agree with that. That's fair. But what is your brain capable of in conversation? Like, I'm saying at some point I'm worthless.
Yeah.
Even in conversation, if I'm overly on it for too long. But physically, I could have a hero effort and then I could still have a really sharp conversation because that like part of me hasn't been used yet.
Yeah.
In a weird way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't make sense.
All right. There's one noise in the background. I want to mute for 1 second. Just make sure we're good.
Okay.
Let's rock and roll.
Know who I think is the most mentally fatigued at the end of the day? Probably. Because I've seen it. Teachers. Okay. The ones who stand in front of people and let's say go hard for 7-8 hours and they're constantly have eyes looking at them. I think that's a tough one to come back from. People who teach all day. I've taught both elementary, middle, or high school teachers, and then even college professors. Coach them in the gym. They come in and they are just spent when they come in for their workouts, yawning and sort of unable to engage. They're just toast. Real heroes.
I think if you're on all day with very little coming back at you, it's exhausting. And if you are herding cats all day, that is the worst. But
True.
if you have a given, like a back and forth, those conversations can be re-energizing. They're engaging. They light your brain up differently. So I've taught high school, I've taught special ed. I did a lot of classroom hours in middle school. I did like 6 months of middle school work. I did 3 months of elementary work, and I did 6 weeks of 4K work. And nothing has been harder than 4-year-old kindergarten.
Really? I believe that.
Yeah, because you have to be on the entire time. They feed entirely off of your energy levels, and you have to constantly be putting out nonsensical fires in every direction all around you. I think that's the most like mentally fatigued I've ever been. And I wasn't even the lead teacher.
Well, that would be case in point. And it's funny because the material's like, this is the color red. It's not super complex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kids. Like, that's simple stuff. You'd think that would be super easy, but it has nothing to do with the material.
No, it's having 24 4-year-olds. Half of them are not native speakers. A third of them are not diagnosed yet, special needs. And you're just there on an island like, hey, control them all. Their parents can't, but you got to get all 24 today.
Yikes.
That's terrible.
All right. So on Tuesday, my co-host Brakken got distracted and decided he wanted to talk about drug use in sport. And we pivoted when we were firmly decided on the episode for the day. So today, right, Brakken, we are going to do what we originally planned on doing earlier this week.
We'll see.
Anything else striking your fancy right now?
No, but it wasn't at this point of the episode last time either. We did the entire intro before I got a little glint in my eye.
I don't know what a glint is, but all right. I don't see any glints.
Like having a gleam in your eye.
That I've heard. I have received no more, no less than 6 mentions or messages about the episode. Most enjoyed it, said it was eye-opening. Some said they weren't surprised. They've already lost all faith in humanity, so this tracks.
Oh.
Somebody said they were very proud of my use of Nikki Hiltz's pronouns. I said, thank you. And then one person, not too happy with you.
Yeah.
That'll
happen.
Yeah.
That will happen. So yes, let's try to do, and I'm putting this on you, like you got to stay buckled down today. Let's try to do what we intended to do on Tuesday.
Okay. So why don't you lay out the premise and stick to it this time?
All right. 30-second intro to mirror what we introed last time. Our previous 2 Training Tuesdays were about the most overrated and underrated parts of run training and racing, how to get faster, the things that people over glamorize or under glamorize that are either super important or not nearly as important as people say. And we were pretty firm on both of those topics, but there are some swing state items that could go either way. And on some days they're one, and on some days they're the other, depending on certain situations. And then there are a few just loose ends to tie up on. Yeah, we feel about this, not maybe as strongly as we felt about one other topic, but it's still, we should address it. So this is tying up the loose ends, the most over and underrated parts of running, training, racing. And then we can move on from the topic.
Until you think of a few more after we're done recording today.
It'll be at the end when you say, anything else you want to say? And I'll say no, but.
So do you want to kick this thing off?
Let's kick it off. I want to say, probably, you said you had someone mad at me about my drug takes. This is the take today that will get people most fired up if they're going to get fired up.
Okay.
One of the most overrated parts of training for a race. And I'm going to say this is for, just like we did last time with like true speed work or whatever, 1,500 meters on up, is running intervals at any given pace.
Overrated.
Picking a single race pace or a specific pace and just nailing that pace in training over and over and over, I think is probably the single most overrated piece. Now, there's going to be a lot of questions about that, so I'm just going to leave it there right now. Overrated to train at any one specific pace.
You mean like you're going to do 400 meter repeats at 5K pace and you're going to nail it? That's what you're saying?
Yep.
Or are you outlining something different?
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I should follow that up. I think the floor is still yours. I already have questions.
But let's start with them.
Well, I'm wondering, like, the instance of, I mean, let's say, we use him so much. The guy should get some sort of like residuals. But Jakob Ingebrigtsen and his very pointy at track intervals, that not too fast, not too slow, right where it should be, for example. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that he could run that without ever looking at his watch. He finger pricks after each 1,000-meter rep, adjusts up and down from there. The point there is that he's not trying to hit a pace, he's trying to hit an intensity. And he sticks to that, and then they will modulate their reps based off that. Now, eventually you get to a point of mastery of your craft where you know that if you're within blank second range of like, let's say for him, like within plus or minus 3 seconds of 2:45 on an interval, he's going to be right where he's supposed to be, or 2:40 on the interval. But he's not trying to run 2:40.
Yeah.
Pace in that case, I think, is almost irrelevant.
Yeah, I think. Well, the floor is then going to be yours to explain further, because I'm thinking, like, the content we create, the way I prescribe workouts, often I'll indicate pace. If you follow any of the professional or top end collegians, the coach will be there and be like, "All right, we're running 72 seconds for this quarter. Go." And then they're like, slow down, or speed it up a little slow, quicker next time. Okay, nailed it. All right, now we're bumping down 10 seconds. This is your hero effort. 62 seconds, go. And then they do it, and they could be doing it just so you can be the perfect puppeteer of your own body, which I think there's a lot of purpose to that. Tell your body what to run and get in touch with it, right? But I think a lot of the content we consume is very much like, here's your pacing, go hit it.
Yes.
So explain.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think you can become a world champion off of that. I also think you can become a world champion without ever trying to run a single given pace in your life. I think that we need to tell people something to do. And that is why pace and mileage are the two things that control every runner's life. It's those are the two easiest numbers to give people, and numbers are always more clear than feelings. Give me a number, tell me what to do. We always want an easy button in life. And so that's what coaches default to. That's what you and I will default to very often. We're running this at 10K pace. Great. But if you ran a couple seconds slower or faster than 10K pace, I don't think you would change the outcome of your workout and your fitness in the slightest. If you gave yourself a range on that, I'm running from 8K to 10K pace, I don't think that changes it in the slightest. What I do believe is that if the number becomes more important than the intent, people will sacrifice the rest of their week or their workout in order to hit a number rather than how are you hitting the number or should you be hitting the number. So that's my first rebuttal to that, is that it's great. Pacing's great. I do a lot of pace work, but I don't think there's any magic in any one pace that you could run. And so striving for that one pace really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Okay, I'm tracking. Let's keep dissecting this further. So,
Okay.
because gosh, this is, I mean, one of the greatest accomplishments as a runner is to tell your body to run a pace and do it and execute, right? So this is a little fringe, I think.
I agree.
Until you explain it away, right? I think what I'm gathering from what you're saying would be almost like, I often believe an athlete may swing too hard and lose the intent of the session in order to hit their splits, and thus sacrifice progression or the rest of their training week. And thus might be a preventative measure in order to not overdo it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. I also believe that most runners who are not professional runners or who don't have 20 years of getting to know themselves choose a goal time they'd like to run or they think they should be able to run. And then that determines the pace they're going to run. And then their adherence to that pace determines whether the workout was good and if they're fit or not, or if the training's working or not. And so by working backwards in that manner, hitting that pace has almost no bearing on whether you can PR or not. And yet, as soon as you establish a number, because it's easy to follow, that becomes infallible, like words from above. We must follow that. When in the reality is that you chose that almost arbitrarily. Like, how many people choose 20-minute pace for a 5K rather than 2010 or 1930?
or 15 flat, which I'd shove
15
down my
flat.
own throat forever.
Yes, it's a number that matters to us as humans, but is not physiologically important. But then
Yeah.
that number, your 15-minute pace, becomes important, and whether I can hit it or not, well, maybe it's not even driving the best adaptation. And yet, if you do hit it, you know you're fit, you know you're ready. But the fact is, you may not be ready just because you hit the number.
I think you brought up something key there, which really leads people astray. And that is targeting workouts at goal pace, not actual current fitness pace. So I've run 21:30, but my goal in the upcoming race is to run 21 flat, which is 10 seconds a mile faster. And so I am going to put those metrics in a box and try to hit them. And what ends up happening is, I mean, I've fell victim to this myself, so I'm not pointing fingers at all. And then I either literally leave my race in training in order to hit those metrics to say I'm ready. Well, guess what? I might have been ready, but now I just use that arrow in my quiver to hit this workout. And now it might not be there on race day. And I think people do that very often. Like, you can be a hero on race day, but being a hero in training to hit metrics that make you then feel good and ready for what your goal is coming up often leaves you unavailable for when the goal race day happens. It's a recent learning. People have heard me mention this now recently, but that I think is very important.
I do too. And we have so many examples of people who run well without ever doing race pace work. We saw 2 examples this year, 3. We had Marco Arop, the Canadian world champion 800-meter runner, won the 1,500. Did he take second in the 1,500 meters? He was leading a lot in those golden.
I don't think he ever won, but every race he kept doing better, and I think he ended up finishing second was his best. But he led; he was a contender.
But he ran 3:33-ish, 3:34.
Okay, might have even been faster.
Yeah, we had Josh Hoey run 3:33 in a 1,500. He's an 800-meter guy and a speed-based 800-meter guy. And then we had, why am I blanking on his name? The reigning Olympic champ in the 800. Oh, is it Wanyoni?
Wanyoni, yeah.
Bumps up and runs like 3:30 or something crazy and just flat out beats all the 1,500-meter runners. And those guys are not running 1,500-meter race pace very often.
I also feel like that's what Cole Hawker did in the 5K, even though it was a slow 5K.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's run
train at 5K pace.
He's run 12:56. He PR'd it this year. These guys are doing this because their fitness is ready to run it, not because they're spending time there. And then would they have trained at the correct pace? Like, would Aerobe have run 3:33 pace 1,500-meter workouts? Also, did he spend any one stride of that race running 3:33? Like, I don't think so. I don't think he spent one. The first lap was a little quicker. The next 2 laps were significantly slower. And then the final lap was run at like 3:20 pace.
Yeah, I know you're not wrong.
So going out and saying I'm in 3:33 shape and training at 3:33 shape, pace for a 1,500 meter, let's just put it back into good terms for people. I want to run a 6-minute mile. I'm going to run my mile at 6-minute pace. Well, we have worked with numerous athletes who've been trying to break a 6-minute mile. Did they run a single 1 minute and 30-second lap throughout that 6-minute mile race? No, almost never. The first lap's certainly faster. Second lap's either faster or slower. And then the final lap, you're falling off or you're kicking. Like, at no point did they run a single, maybe even 100-meter stretch at 6-minute mile pace. So was there any magic to running all their reps at 6-minute pace? Or was it almost unimportant to the actual goal?
Okay, so we try to provide solutions here on the podcast. So what is your proposed alternative?
Well, I don't think it's bad. And I will continue programming race-paced intervals. However, we need to know if that's an accurate depiction of where our fitness lies currently. We need to know if I'm going to spend any time at that pace while running that overall time. Like, for example, my 5K PR worked out to 5:02 per mile. I didn't run a single mile within 4 or 5 seconds of 5:02 during that.
Right.
Got out faster, went way slower, closed way faster. Running at 5:02 pace wouldn't have prepared me from a stride perspective or things like that. So anyway, find out for sure, will you be using that pace? Is it the correct pace? And then really determining the difference between a race pace that aligns with the physiological training zone or a race pace that just requires a certain stride type to do it. Like mile race pace is not physiological. 5K race pace is not a physiological sweet spot. It's slower than VO2 max. It's faster than threshold. So there's no beautiful zone to be in there that's going to give you great return on your investment. So I think deciding now 10K pace, 8K pace for a lot of people, that's a sweet spot. That doubles down. That is race pace, and it's a physiologically important intensity to be training at because that's right around threshold for most people.
So maybe you like the RPE system for some people,
Mhm.
which is also, be careful with that one too. But yes.
Now, I want to be clear that I don't think there's anything wrong with pace-based training. But when you tell someone to run an 8 out of 10 or to run a threshold workout or to finger prick and stay within this, their goal for the workout is inherently to execute at or slightly below that and do not exceed. And if you say go run 12 by 400 at 5K pace, they're going to try to hold 5K pace or beat it if they can. And since it's already a taxing pace, beating it doesn't help you much in the race, but it does significantly impact your recovery. So pace-based training for a lot of people, while effective, invites you to overreach, while effort-based training invites you to execute at or below.
All right, I'm tracking.
Okay.
I think it depends whose hands it's in.
For sure.
Yeah.
But how many
Okay.
times have you heard a person say, I need a predictor workout, or this workout says I can run blank? Oh, I really don't like those. Your block of training should say I can do this, but one workout that you crush, I've never found a strong correlation to that ever playing true to a race.
Same with one workout that you bomb.
Correct.
By the way,
and if you bomb a pace-based workout, you get depressed.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
I do want to triple and quadruple down by saying I don't see any problem with doing all your running pace-based.
That's what I've done recently.
I just think it's overrated from a standpoint of it doesn't guarantee what oftentimes we think it guarantees.
And the paces that I have prescribed were conservative. It was more of a, I know I can hit this, go out and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, can I? I'm not sure. Let's find out. It was more from that place.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think just for the sake of moving on, I won't contribute anymore to that, but I do agree with you. I think knowing your tendency as an athlete, especially if you have emotional ties to what the number says and you have a hard time with confidence or overconfidence and you bomb your races, but you feel like you nail your workouts. I think there's a place for some people to almost let go of pacing expectations completely. And I think for others, it's such a place of approval in their own mind that yes, I can. And it opens up the door of possibility for their next race, because some people are so afraid to hurt, they get in their own way and don't give themselves the chance. So I think it's very discrepant.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a woman yesterday, and I'm going to say this because I am comfortable I'm confident that she will take this the right way.
Okay.
She said, I want to be able to run 410 per kilometer in a high rocks. I feel like I need to be able to do that. And so what do I need to do with my training to be able to do that? And I think that is either a great move or a terrible move, depending on what type of athlete you are.
100%.
Because at its core, what is the running in high rocks? What kind of running is it? Like, is it the type of running that you should be pressing to hit so that you can run a time? Or is it the type of running you should be doing because this is on the high end of sustainable?
Mm-hmm.
You should be running what's available to you at your core in a high rocks.
Yeah.
So that could be really bad for people. That could be, you are going to destroy your race. You're going to sabotage it. You're going to work too hard in training. You're going to believe your workouts. I can run these workouts at 410 pace, and you're going to blow up after the sleds, and it's going to be terrible. And you're going to question everything you've done. Or 410 is going to keep you accountable. It's going to be the thing that gets you out of the station and back to work and realizing I can recover better than I thought at pace. And I was underselling a high rocks, and I really was leaving a little bit in the tank. Like, it's going to be one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But more often than not, I think it's going to hurt the athlete rather than help.
Nah, you just milk the rower, recover nicely, shoot to the moon, the back half.
To the moon.
Yeah, after the rower. It can just be I think the rower is the best place to chill, because
the only place.
You lose. Well, it is really, but you lose such little time on there. I mean, comparatively to other stations, we don't need to get into that. But
So, anyways, I think she can handle it.
I think every athlete at some point, if they do this long enough and they haven't found out exactly their limit, gets to the point where they do shove pace down their own throat. Well, at this point, it's 410 kilometers, no matter what. It's my 10th high rocks and I'm circling the same waters. It's time to find out, right?
Yeah. And she has done multiple high roxes. She's been successful. She was a collegiate athlete. I trust her intuition on these type of things, which is why I'm comfortable calling this out, because I'm not calling her out. I'm calling out the thinking for other people. But if you're newer to it, or you've had a big change in fitness or one way or the other, I think saying I must do blank is a recipe for disaster.
All right.
Your turn.
I'm going to keep this one pretty straightforward. There won't be any blurred lines here. This is also an underrated. Or no, you said overrated. I'm going with an underrated. And look at me bringing it to shoes. And I brought it to shoes last time, which is funny because I'm developing, a passion for this. I think the most underrated nuance of the shoe you pick and consistency in finding a shoe that will work for you, regardless as to what plate or no plate is in it, what foam or no foam, width of the toe box, brand, how it laces up, all that is irrelevant once you understand what heel to toe drop your stride likes best. I can tell you, if I get a 4 mil, which are super rare to find, I could buy a 4 mil drop, Nike, Asics, New Balance, Skechers, doesn't matter. Doc Martin, who cares? I would run well in that. Because the way my stabby foot strike, as you call it, hits, my foot likes lower drop than higher drop. And if I'm going to risk it on a new shoe, I'm going to make sure one of those boxes are checked, and is the drop in my wheelhouse. And I think it is not paid attention to. I think it's like the second or third step in learning shoes in your foot. And I think that is super underrated. Just finding out and sticking close to that is way more important than playing with the next new super shoe or finding like the flash. I think you're more guaranteed to get it right once you know what your foot likes from heel to toe drop.
I agree.
Underrated. You do fully.
I agree. I know that when I get above, I would say above 8 mil drop, usually. Now, depending on if there's a plate involved, I think plates amplify drop, both high and low. I think if it's zero drop, the plate amplifies how zero drop it is because it's not flexible anymore. And if it's high drop, it makes it higher drop because it's not flexible anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But above 8, I know that my ankles will be less happy. I will get lower quad pain eventually, and my stride will feel clunkier and worse.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of the fast guys, we'll call it, in Spartan when I first got into the pro scene running in ultras. And I was like, those shoes look dumb. I'm not going to get those. But I got a free pair sent to me when I had a partnership with Nordic Track. They had partnered with Ultra. Their models were wearing Ultra shoes. It doesn't even matter. I did a few posts for Nordic Track. They sent to me and said, those are dumb, but I'll try them. And I was like, wah, la, 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 la. I put them on my foot and I was like, what is this? Mm-hmm. And I went running and I was like, God, I feel good in these shoes. And that was zero drop, which I don't really wear today, but it was a revelation that, oh my God, like, why does this shoe that looks like a clown shoe feel good when I run? None of that mattered. And I realized that for whatever reason, the way my foot strikes, which maybe is unique, responds well to low drop shoes. And I'm now to the point, you made a comment to me, Brakken, when I said I found my new recovery run shoe, the Nike Zoom Fly, and I stand by it. I love it for slower pacing work. I decided to do some 1-minute pickups in my long run last weekend to stave off boredom. That shoe don't roll with me once I'm trying to run fast. Mm-hmm. It's an 8 mil drop. I don't know if I can race in an 8 mil drop. 6 is my limit when I care about pace. I think I got to be under 6. Your limit's 8, mine is 6.
Yeah.
Zoom Fly is great when I'm running 6:40 to 7-minute pace. But as soon as I tried to rip, I was like, this shoe's working against me. I could feel it.
Yeah.
So anyways, and Macaulay said the exact same thing as what you had said, I believe. And I was like, oh, shoot, he was right.
He can take it up to tempoing. And that's about it.
That's probably my limit too. And so anyways, paying attention, and then when you pick your next shoe choice, if your current one's discontinued or whatever it is, be like, that shoe feels awesome. First thing I would do is look at the heel to toe drop and then try to emulate that in your next pair.
Yeah, I like
Well,
that.
I guess, yeah.
I think that, and going back to your ultra shoes, I find there to be two types of ultras. There are the types that sit flat on the ground and those that are curved.
Mm.
And so the bottoms that have a curve to them, the heel and toe have a little less foam than the midsole. It's still zero drop because it's the same heel to toe. But if you land midfoot, there's a slight drop now.
Mm.
Whereas some of the shoes are just flat slab of foam across. And so there is no real rocker to it. And my guess is if you got the Nordic Track, what would that have been, like 8 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess what they sent you, and if you didn't get to pick, it was either the Ultra 1, V like 2 or V3, or it was the Escalante.
They sent me the Escalante.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
And both of those have a bit of roll to it.
I love the Escalante.
Yeah. The Escalante doesn't have as much as the one had, but the one, I felt like I could probably race in this. Now, I wouldn't take it past like 5K, but I probably could. I felt kind of fast in it. So it's just interesting that the principles of why the shoe works for you kind of works across borders.
It's interesting. Yeah. So I guess we could probably just leave it there. I've said what I want to say, but big time revelation for me. That's where my eyes go in any shoe I pick out. And for me to pick anything over 6 mil is a risk at this point, as far as me feeling fast in the shoe. It's almost not going to be possible for me, I've found. So
do you know what the second thing I look for nowadays is?
Would it be in the specs?
Not generally. It's more in a description or user feedback.
Oh, no, I don't.
How stiff the shoe is.
Okay.
I found that a flexible shoe does not work well for me, and the super stiff plated shoes, like that, carbon plates get tuned differently. The ones that are hyper stiff generally don't work for me. They will for a bit, but they eventually beat up my calves and Achilles. So a trail shoe, for example, like the Mafate or the Challenger, is kind of a stiff shoe for a regular non-plated shoe. But it still has some flex to it. That works so well for my foot. But something like the original, or let's say like the Nike Ultrafly, is so stiff, and that does not work for me. Doesn't matter how much cushion's in there. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to that as much.
I didn't until I kept feeling the same like neuroma feeling and then the same weird calf feeling in certain shoes. And I lined them up one day, just like, what's going on here? And I started cranking on them. I was like, oh yeah, the stiffer it is, the more it hurts me. And the more flexible it is, the worse I feel. There's my sweet spot is that like moderately stiff shoe.
What would that be?
A unplated shoe that would have stiff or rockered foam to it.
Do you have an example?
Like the Challenger ATR. Not very flexible. It's designed to rock more than feel the ground. That works really well for me. Or a plated shoe that does not have a stiff plate, like Adidas, who uses that forked rods in that. It has more give to it. That works very well for me.
I haven't run an Adidas anything, and it was my favorite brand to buy in college in years, decades. I should give them a try again. I'm going to buy a $500 pair of marathon shoes. I'm doing it.
You're going to get the Evo 2s?
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not crazy.
That's a bit much for me. If I was on the verge of trials or winning something, then I would do it.
And you might not even like that shoe as much as you like other options.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, it's a gamble. All right, next one.
All right. So I am going to say this is a swing state topic. This could be incredibly overrated or very underrated. And I'm going to say diet. I think that for a lot of people, they overrate how important diet is to their success. Now, I want to be very clear that our body functions the best off of a good, clean, well-fueled diet. But in terms of athletic performance, short-term, I'm not talking long-term health and wellness, short-term performance, your body can burn bad fuel just as well as it can burn really good fuel, sometimes even better. A crappy diet can win a world championship, as can a bad diet. But long-term, good diets win out. So from the performance standpoint, people who say I didn't get my normal pre-race dinner, or I've been staying with someone else and they've just been throwing me all off, or the restaurant didn't have my whatever, I don't think it's impacting your next quality session or your race. I really don't, especially if it's not an ultra. But if you are struggling with other things in your life, or sleep, or inflammation, or nausea, or headaches, or things that are preventing you from training sustainably, diet might be the most underrated piece of that. Where if you figure that out and get that fixed, your availability or recoverability skyrockets. And now you're getting more out of your body.
How do you think your diet is?
I think for the average American, I am high end of moderate.
What is high end of moderate? What?
Like, I would give myself a B- in diet.
I would give 99% athletes a C at best. You start looking around, and we are these like high octane, high burn, overwhelmed with hunger. Like, we label like nutrition bars as health food, or like what we take intra run. Like, no, you're taking straight glucose. I mean, Scratch is, or Morton is literally, it's like gelatinized white sugar. Like like that. None of this is labeled as healthy. We are actually consumers by nature of high processed junk. Even the gels that you're paying arm and leg for is high processed junk.
Mm-hmm.
From like the 10,000 foot health view. Like, we inherently eat very poorly, lots of sugar, lots of refined carbs that traditionalism would tell you is bad for you. We get hungry intently, and then we grab our Pringles, which I do. All of those things, I actually think, as long as the diet, the staples still, when you sit down to have your meal, it includes balanced and healthful foods, and the fringe eating by runners, not good by large. And the ones that eat that way actually feel available for their sessions. And the ones that stick to the pyramid and the ones that eat healthful all the time generally feel empty more often. That's just what I think.
I started to cut you off there. The one energy gel brand that claims to be more nutritious and whole food and healthful would be Spring. And they've been embroiled in this controversy of not even having enough of what they claim is in theirs. They got caught up. I think specifically Awesome Sauce was having like 30 to 60% less carbs in it than they claimed was in it, which kind of goes to prove it's really hard to fit it in a certain serving size if you do it the right way.
I do like Spring Energy. They're tasty. It does feel like you're eating something
It's
most
great.
of the time.
I have no qualms with it, other than the fact that people were underfueling using it because they weren't getting in what they thought they were.
I'm a big fan of Alec Blennis. We had him on the podcast a couple times. I got together to train with him. We interact on social media on regularity, I would say now. And he's been posting a bunch of his, like, I mean, the guy is just a freak. Is he the strongest guy you'll ever meet? No, he's very strong. Is he the fastest guy you'll ever meet? No, but he's very fast. He's a good combination of both. He lives in the gray zone of awesome on both of those, right? Mm-hmm. Anyways, he's just been shoving his like fueling routine. Have you seen some of his stuff recently?
Yeah, and he's a pot stirrer intentionally because he has no tolerance for pseudoscience or bro culture.
Correct, but he's vindicated in it, and he believes he's not just doing stuff to stir the. He's not doing it to stir the pot exclusively. He's doing it because he believes in it, and he says it knowingly that it will stir the pot. And his last post in quotes is, "Why do I feel so good all the time?" Starter pack, and it's a it's a photo of a pint of orange juice, Sour Patch Kids bites, Scratch super high carb chews, and bananas. And people lose their minds over seeing this. Like, yeah. No, he's like, yeah, that's actually what I'm feeling with during my session. You know, the guy runs for an hour and a half and then hits a heavy strength workout. And he says, this is what I mean. I'm literally drinking 1,000 calories of orange juice, having a bunch of bananas, eating candy, but I'm performing. Point being, that is not health food. No. However, it is fueling the nature of his performance. And there's no denying that glucose saturation is helpful.
Right. I think it's important that we all get on the same page with this next sentence.
Oh, gosh.
Anything taken to an extreme level of performance moves away from health. Like almost any exercise you can do moves you towards health until you try to perform at a high level, until you take it towards the competition standpoint. And then it becomes detrimental to your health at some point. The higher you get in your sport, the less healthy your sport is for you, the more it becomes destructive. And the higher performing you get, the more you have to come to grips with the fact that you're going to cram things into your body that are not long-term healthy for you. I also believe that eating purely healthy is not necessarily the best way to fuel on a day-by-day basis, but it's the best way to fuel for a lifelong basis, which is, again, why I get back to this thing. If you have a pre-existing health problem, or if you're having some issue, GI or otherwise, that's preventing you from getting workouts in, if you can address it in your diet, that's a performance enhancer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very outside of those like medical situations. Diet is not a game changer performance wise, but people will die on their own sword. They will, like, this is the hill they would die on. They will take it to the ends of the earth for the 1 to 2% arguments. Diet, creatine versus no creatine, going vegan versus going vegetarian. Like, these people will die for that cause, and they're vastly unimportant to performance.
Do you think being vegan is unimportant to performance?
Yeah, I don't think if it doesn't solve a existing condition in your body, it's not going to unlock a new gear for you. Could it give you long-term health? Absolutely. And for the people it works for, I would never tell them to do anything but I would never say to someone who's healthy and has good energy levels and has good like cognition and no brain fog, but they're just a little slow on the 5K, I'd never say, hey, you should probably try going vegan, because it's not a performance enhancer. It can erase some medical issues for certain people, in which case it's a performance enhancer. But to the general population, it will not make you any faster.
I went vegan for 4 weeks once.
And you felt like death.
I felt really good.
Oh, no. You felt like death when you went keto.
Keto is horrible. Yeah, that was the worst I've ever felt in my life, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I went vegan. This was just experimenting. That's all I was doing. Certainly wasn't moral reasons, but anyways, I felt really good. Like, I had pep in my step and was on a caffeine buzz almost for the first 10 to 14 days. And then I found once I needed GER, like, my workout started to slowly go down, like my ability to sustain output or like find a way to dig. I found I wasn't supplementing with other things. I was just eating food. Right. And slowly at the end of the month, I was like, I'm definitely worse. I'm 100% worse than I was 4 weeks ago, but there was like a honeymoon phase, but it was very short-lived.
Lisa and I went vegan. I don't remember how long, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 13. It was something long enough to like be in rhythm. It was at least 3 months. And lifestyle, day to day, I can't say I've ever felt better. Now, preparing meals was more of a hassle than it's ever been in my life, but I felt pretty good. And I felt pretty good with endurance work, but I struggled to go to the well.
That's what I couldn't do. I couldn't go to the well.
And people can get used to that. But there's not a lot of vegan, like, high intensity sport athletes. You get it more on the slow twitch side. But regardless, what the commonality you get to eventually with people, and there's people in my family who are primarily vegan, eventually they just have a craving for a different type of protein. Like, eventually they're just like, I need some meat today. They may not know that that's the word they're searching for. And then they have like a chicken breast or a steak or something. They're like, I felt it do something for me. So from a competitive standpoint or a life standpoint, eventually there's just a few holes that most people don't keep filled. Others keep it filled very well because they're insanely creative and they do a lot of things with their diet. So I'm not here to trash veganism. I did it for over 3 months. I think I lived the lifestyle enough to get a grasp on it. I felt great, but I couldn't run middle distance on vegan.
Yeah, same with low carb, by the way. That also did not allow me to go to the well. So
I would go vegan before I'd go low carb, personally.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. All right. Shall we move on?
Yes.
I find myself wanting to go to equipment all of a sudden. Like, I feel like you're the equipment guy.
Go to equipment.
Like, you're like the clothing, shoe tech guy, and I'm like not. but I'm trying to keep it like very, I don't know, like quick fix sort of,
Yeah, do it.
like with the shoe recommendation. Another underrated thing, piece of equipment, running underwear.
Yeah.
Hello. Do you guys just running in whatever you live in your life, or are you, I don't know, whatever you're choosing to support thine self? Running underwear make lives better for me, anyways. Notably, I did a split short workout the other day on the treadmill. I did a 60-minute ramp test at 6%. Wear split shorts. Why not? I rarely do. So much sweat, so much clinging. I chafed on my inner thighs. I got some thighs. I know it doesn't look like it, but I do. And I had no running briefs on or sport trunks. Anyways, like it was miserable. And then I had to walk around like I got off a horse for the next 2 days because if my thighs touched. Anyways, that was the definitive for me. And it's just a recent revelation. Like, I need my running boxer briefs and they need to prevent what just happened at all costs, at all times. And that is half tights coupled with running boxer sport trunks or briefs. And life is so good.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, if you care. And I would agree. And I would say you get what you pay for in those, and you get what you pay for in socks. The same principle applies, but running underwear, if you're not on that train yet, get on it.
Yeah, it's like shoe drop. You got to find what works for you, and then you got to just live there. There are basically two types of legs fundamentally for running underwear. There's the type of leg where up at the crotch on the underwear line in a bikini situation style brief, right on that crotch line there. It either that is the wide point and it goes straight down or slightly in from there, right down to your knee, or it comes back out towards the midline.
That's what mine does.
Before tapering back down. And if you have the straight leg approach, you can get away with just about anything, including the just running in the liners of your running shorts. But if your leg comes out towards the midline from the underwear line, comes out back towards the middle, and then goes back out, whether it's muscle, fat combination, or just your general structure, you are going to chafe like crazy in most things that are not performance built. That's just the fact. I used to be just fine in split shorts. My freshman year, when I weighed 139 pounds down at Campbell University at 6 foot, I didn't chafe a single day all year. In North Carolina, heat and humidity, I'm a salty sweater. I wore only split shorts with the liner in, and I never, ever chafed. My legs went straight down. And then I became an adult. I finished at that point going through puberty. I put on a little bit of size. I lifted for baseball, and I have not been able to wear split shorts ever since. And that's not a shame one way or the other. Like, you are what you are. You have what you have. Buy your underwear accordingly. My life has gotten so much better since I started cutting the liner out of running shorts.
Yeah, liners too. I could do it. What the hell is that thing even doing there?
It's one size fits all, and that is not the way the human crotch works.
That liner's not supporting nothing, folks. It just isn't.
Not good.
No. All right. Anyways, running underwear. We can move on from it.
I'm not moving on. I'm going to add to that.
Okay.
Anti-chafing products are absolutely underrated.
They work
so well.
They work.
Vaseline doesn't cut it.
And they last forever. Like, I got a stick of Body Glide, and like that thing lasts quite a while. Like, it looks like a stick of deodorant, but that thing can last you like a year.
I spend probably $30 a year on anti-chafing products between Lisa and I, and she runs a lot. It's worth it.
I spend less, but it's just me.
Okay. I'm going to go another swing state here, Kirk.
Okay.
I think one of the most overrated or underrated, depending on you as a runner, parts of getting faster is working on your running form and stride.
Okay.
And this is one of those that people will die on. They will die for this cause. I do not believe it's one size fits all. I believe there are some people who just truly run way worse than their physiology says they have to. And I think there are some people who run beautifully, and there are some people who their physiology limits them to running a certain way, and you can get hyper efficient and fast with that form. And we see it all the way up to the Olympic level. There are people with objectively, quote unquote, bad form who are world-class runners. I would say Kenneth Rooks is one of those. He's an Olympic medalist, and he does not have a classic form, but his physiology demands that he runs a certain way. I would say Cole Hawker is an Olympic champion who does not have beautiful running form. He runs a way you wouldn't teach, but it is physiologically efficient and dynamic for him.
I'm thinking of Josh Hoey and Eric Holt.
Perfect. Holt pains me to watch.
He's working from stride one.
And he's a national level runner. And so there are
he
some
ran 333.
There are some people who have just completely mastered their atypical form. Mm-hmm. There are others who really do need to work on their running form. There's generally, for all the experts out there who claim they can unlock blank, I have never personally known any runner, Kirk, and I'd like you to chime in here, who has changed the trajectory of their running performance. I'm not saying health. I'm saying like unlocking speed, ability, anything by changing their running form.
That I was gonna shove the same question at you on like the pro side. Like, is there any? Granted, that's a different sample size of elites, but I can't think of one that way. I mean, the person who I know that has done the biggest form overhaul was Rich Ryan, from what he tells us. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how he was pretty fast before it, right? So I don't know.
He was what, 4'11" in high school or something like that?
Yeah, I think his form overhaul is probably.
Yeah,
no, it helped him stay healthy.
And that's the thing. If you, just like diet, if you are losing out on consistency, volume, intensity, availability because of your form, fixing your form is a performance enhancer because you are now more available and it hurts you less and you can do more work, and more work is a performance enhancer. So from that standpoint, it cannot be overrated enough, or I mean, it cannot be like rated highly enough how important it is to get your form right so that you can run every day. But if you can already run every day and you're training a lot, I don't know a single example of someone who went up an entire letter grade as a runner because they changed their form.
I think the biggest thing would be the secondary benefit if form is causing you physical injury, reoccurring overuse. And if that's cleaned up and allows you to train as a byproduct of being able to train more, you would be faster, more fit. I think that is the route, but I don't know if it's like, I just got more efficient, so I'm faster. Like, I feel like it's I can't think of that case study.
Well, and the most common form issue is that it gets worse as you get tired. Mm-hmm. And so by fixing it, it doesn't last, right? Like you're still going to deteriorate as you fatigue. Like it's a fitness thing. It's not a form thing. Holding it together better, you're still going to get slower because you're going to get tired. So no, I don't think people ever just unlock this improvement by fixing their form, but people certainly stay healthier by fixing their form.
Is there anything else you want to add to that? You want to talk about 180? You want to make Rich Diaz roll in his future grave?
He already does every time I open my mouth up about him. Did I tell you I saw him in Chicago?
No. Oh yeah, you did mention
World champs. Had a good chat with him.
Did you? I like Rich. Okay, I have an overrated.
Okay,
underrated. I think one of the most. I got two that I'm going to tie them together. The most overrated craze right now is the high carb overfueling, shove it all down your system during work craze. I think it's overrated to the 10th degree. I also think fueling before morning training, even if it's a quality session, is overrated. I think fueling AM session, overrated. I think this high carb, shove it down your throat, overrated. 500 calories an hour, get out of here. The risk isn't worth the reward, you crazy person. That's what I think.
I think at face value, I agree with all of that.
I'm going to explain.
Yeah. So I'm saying,
And
yes, I agree with you.
the morning thing. If you're somebody who gets up and runs before work, or you're in your running shoes within an hour of waking up, and you've done your job the day before with eating, you are still pretty much topped off when that alarm goes off in the morning. You're topped off. You ate dinner, maybe you had a snack before bed. You can literally get your pre-workout down your throat, or if you're not that type, or coffee, and you can go and you can have just as good, if not a better workout than if you take the time to have your little cereal or muffin or your banana and bar, or whatever it is, and go. One, I find your chance of GI distress and needing to stop to use the bathroom as a morning runner decreases if you don't put any food in your body before you go out and run. I feel like it increases if you do that. Two, uh, you're topped off. If you're going out for anything under 75 minutes or even a quality session, I find no difference in how I feel. In fact, sometimes I just feel better just rolling with a cup of coffee and going. We do not need to fuel before morning efforts if they're done within an hour of waking up. I really don't. I really believe that. I firmly do. I've had too many case studies now. I'm one of one that it doesn't matter if you've eaten well the day before and you had enough in your system. That's first. That's all anecdotal.
I agree with you for most of this, but I would still, if I had to choose, I would rather have people take a slight something down than nothing down, especially women, especially if they are in menstruating years. I think
Okay.
there's too much compelling evidence that says you can like literally flip the switch for your body by having a little bit of glucose in the morning as a menstruating woman and have a better day because of it. From an energy standpoint as a man, fine. I went a decade probably, we've talked about this, without eating before a single workout. I think it's just fine. There is an inability to drive energy production the correct way for many menstruating women until they prime it with flipping that switch by ingesting some glucose in the morning. So that is the caveat to all of that. I've pushed Lisa to do it. I know that sounds real close to mansplaining, but as just as what I'm going to say. I was a part of a startup that worked specifically on a woman specific pre-workout to combat basically the hole that you are dug every month. And so I was exposed to some material and some statistics that were surprising to me. And so my now stance on that has changed towards women. I think for men, it's probably fine to never fuel before workouts if you didn't want to.
Well, you are fueling before the workout. You fuel the entire day before,
Morning
everything
now,
from your
within a
last
30-minute
session.
window.
Yeah, I think people think it has to be within an hour or something, or 30 minutes, and for it to be counted as fueling for your workout. I'm like, what if I've been doing the previous 24 hours?
Right.
Not fueling for my workout. Like, just because I didn't ingest a banana before I went out for my morning run doesn't mean I'm gonna have a shit run. In fact, I could have the best run of my month.
Your food
And
didn't need the label the night before to say pre-workout for it to be a pre-workout.
Thank you.
Except for women in a certain stage of their cycle, they can't access it. That's my
neither
big
back
caveat.
that up. I can either support or rebut that right at this time.
And I'm
I'll
not
have to
looking
do
for
my
an
research.
argument. I want people to feel that they're not crazy when they have a crazy difference in energy access during a workout in the morning when they don't eat.
Yeah, and I think some people, their alarm goes off at 3:45 because they have to get up, and then they like to work into their day, and they have their food, and then they let it digest for an hour, and then they get out the door at 5. When I hate it, you could have got 45 more minutes of sleep. Just had a little bit of coffee and got out the door without any fuel in your system, been just as productive, and sleep matters as well. And I know there's a whole camp who are committed and their alarms go off early and they do it all step by step. And I commend you for it. I just don't think it's necessary if your job was done the day before. And then the other thing about the high carb craze and the super saturation. Listen, I got a whole corral of ultra athletes now. I've experimented a little bit on some of my marathon long runs. The more I eat, the worse I feel during efforts like that. I certainly don't feel better. There's just a minimum viable dose, which keeps the blood sugar up and the glucose flowing. And I think when you start to toy with that for many people, you end up with either a stomach that feels like bricks, burping up a bunch of stuff, feeling like you can't get anything down, and it ends up setting you back further than it propels you forward. I think we're playing too far with that line, some people, and I still think up to, let's call it, I'm going to say 6 hours. I still think less is more.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I
I think if
that.
you're going the duration of time that's longer than a typical between meals, 4-6 hours, you can start looking at that. But that effort then is going to be slow enough in which to allow you to absorb what you're eating. But if I'm racing for 5 hours or 6 hours, let's say a 50K hard, there's no place for too much food in that effort with my heart rate, and it just ends up going south. So I think pushing carbs is overrated until you get to, 6 hours, let's say.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because the craze it's the ultra craze. That's where it resides right now. And truly, I believe that fueling for ultras is the unexplored frontier. It's the final frontier in maximizing, maybe not the final, but it's the penultimate frontier in maximizing human performance over ultra duration is fueling.
I just looked at the clock, by the way, so this can be our last situation. Yeah, okay.
I do not think it can be possibly rated highly enough, the importance of being able to stay as close to topped off in fuel for as long as possible in 50 and 100 and 200 mile races. I do not think it can be stated highly enough how important it is for your body to be able to absorb and access the fuel you are putting in, and it rebels against you, because the line is so fine and it's different in every single temperature. So, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. David Roach is who we're talking about. He has spearheaded this. He became hyper known for his high carb force feeding of his diet, and he credits that for his Leadville success. Javelina success, things like that. He's also borderline crazy in a good way about practicing that in training.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do that. You cannot say, oh, I can absorb this, it'll work on race day. You need to be able to absorb it at a high heart rate, in the hot, in the cold, in the humidity, in the dry. Your GI reacts to everything differently. Every single new stimulus that's in play is a potential stick in the proverbial spokes. So you have to be able to practice it the way he does in order for you to utilize it the way he does. And you also have to know that the more you're forcing in, and like anything, the closer you ride the line, the higher the occurrence of a blow up is going to be. Mm-hmm. You're not going to bonk, you're going to explode. And when you do, it's going to be more violent than if you weren't riding the line. So it is a risk reward. And I think the reward is very high. I think it's worth exploring, but only, like Kirk said, if you're racing, I would say significantly longer than 6 hours.
Yeah. You got to really be stretched out.
Maybe 6 hours is about like,
that just feels right.
But even 6 is high. I've raced 6 hours. You've raced 6 hours. It's a high enough intensity that even if you're only drinking it down, that's a lot to take down. It might be closer to 10 or 12 hours is the cutoff where I would be like hyper fixated on it.
Yeah. For the sake of me not being late for my next client, it's a hard stop right now.
Okay.
So I guess we're just going to have to leave it there.
So this, I want to have a future Q&A on this. I want people to write in either their disagreements or their questions on, is this over or underrated? I would like to hear feedback on these episodes.
That'd be a fun one. I would enjoy that. All right. Well, we got to roll the music. Roll the music.
Kirk.